Good morning. I'm here at ClioCon with Chris Stock. It's very good to meet you.
Great to meet you too, Kevin. Thanks for having me on the show.
You have an interesting ride all the way to Clio. How did it come about? And I guess I would say, how did you meet Jack, and how did it come about so fast that you started working together?
Yeah, I actually started out. I went to college for 6 months when I was 18 in Australia, and I realized I didn't like science. I was doing a Bachelor of Science, and I wanted to do law, but I didn't really want to go back to university without trying it out first. So I started work in a law practice as a junior. 7 years later, I was managing the biggest property law practice in the country without a law degree. But I realized I liked the technology. I'd spent a lot of time implementing automation. This was the year 2001. I was the young person in the firm, so I was always thrown the tech stuff to look at. Really, my only skill set was knowing how to do a really good Google search back then. But it meant that
you could get stuff done too.
I could get stuff done, but it did mean that I learned about things, particularly like document automation and practice management, because I was always looking at ways to use technology to improve process. So one day I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and I applied for a job at a legal software company in Australia. And I was there for 15 years, and I was fortunate at that company. I was able to travel the world. I founded their operations in the UK and the United States. And 15 years at that company later, it was time for me to have a little bit of a break. And I wanted to spend a bit of time focused on something that's dear to my heart, which was prison reentry. And I was asked to be the chairperson of what's called a Second You Foundation out of New York City. So I spent a year doing that. And then I realized I was really missing legal tech. And I bumped into Jack at ABA Tech in, would have been, February, March 2022. And we said, let's catch up again in a few months' time. He was going to be in New York. We had a coffee. And then I came to ClioCon that year. And I met with Ronnie Grind. And ClioCon just swept me away. I saw the keynote. I met the people. And I said, I need to work here. Like, this is the place to be. Clio is going to win, and I want to be part of the winning team. So I signed with Clio as an advisor that date, and it came on full time in May 2023.
Really?
Yeah.
So pretty fast.
Yeah, that's right.
What was the company you're working with in Australia?
Apologies, May 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, May 2024. Yeah.
Just a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you working with in Australia?
I was with Leap.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good company. Is that Christian's company?
That's Christian's company. Yeah. I spent a lot of time on road trips with Christian in many countries around the world.
No, you did a nice job. You damn near built a monopoly in Australia. What attracts you to Clio? I mean, like when you talk to Jack and you say, okay, I want to work with that company. Why?
Yeah. Jack is, well, firstly, Jack's a genius, but he's an innovator that carries himself with kindness and a desire to help. Yeah, that's what comes first. I think one of Clio's core values, which is customer success comes first, is really reflective of the attitude from the top. And when I met Jack and I sat down and had a coffee with Jack, I met many of the legal tech founders, and Jack was the guy that creates excitement and provides you an ability to really believe in the mission of the company.
And they're very negative. Yeah. And it comes across all the time, because people have opportunities to go other places.
Yeah.
And it gives them a real purpose in life to be able to do this.
I think what you see, it's what we see. Yeah. We're fortunate enough to talk to Jack every day. And when you meet Jack once, or whether you've met him 100 times, it's the same Jack. And that's what I like so much about him. It's there's nothing hidden. Jack is Jack, and the kind, intelligent man that you see on stage and that you talk to every day is the same person behind closed doors.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I met him, he hadn't launched the company yet. We're talking over coffee in a Starbucks in New York. And he's talking about, which watch do I use for running? And I'm finding out that Jack runs every day. Yeah. And that caused me to start to run every day because he motivated me to do that. It was all his personal stuff.
Yeah.
And then you were having dinner with him, having dinner with Tanya. I mean, they were real people.
That's right.
Very, very real.
Yeah.
From being at larger companies, sometimes it seems like the pro forma that somebody's taking you out to eat, but it's not. It's not that same culture. The things that you've been working on now with the V, I mean, it sounds like you're pretty important in the integration work of what has to go on. And there's been a lot of integration that's needed to be going on this year. What have you been working on?
Yeah, so there've been a few big areas that I've
Yeah,
been working on. The biggest one really has been the Clio Draft integration. We've had Draft as a product for quite some time, and this was the year where we really integrated it deeply with the Clio Manage ecosystem, looking to build out much bigger libraries. There's massive synergies there with Vlex and their offerings. And, having the background in document automation, one of the things I said to Ronnie when I first joined Clio is, just give me Draft. That's my thing. I love document automation and I understand it deeply. And we've had a really, really strong year with Draft. We've launched it in the UK and Australia in the conveyancing space, and we'll be continuing to add areas of law for those markets in the coming months and coming year. And all of those documents will be kept up to date the same way the documents in the United States are. And we've really also empowered the entire Clio ecosystem to understand Draft and be able to talk about Draft to the customer base.
what does it do for the lawyer? What's it really help them now?
Yeah, it makes them efficient with document automation. And one of the things that I talk to people about is you hear the word draft and you think about the detailed drafting of a 500-page operating or contribution agreement and hundreds of red lines and all that sort of stuff. But if you think about the average lawyer, and when I think about the average lawyer, I think about my parents. We grew up in a low socioeconomic area. My parents didn't have a lot of money. If they needed to see a lawyer, firstly, it was very difficult to afford one. They would only go there for an intensely personal reason. Someone had died, a builder had made a mistake and they were suing a builder, which was the worst time of their life. They bought a house. It was a scary time in their life. That's the average person that goes and sees a lawyer. And they're not having big documents drafted at $500,000, $600,000 an hour. They're going through real transactional type work. And even where it may be litigious in nature, let's say a family law divorce matter or, even a criminal matter, a lot of those day-to-day matters don't require a lot of drafting. What they require is a document library with template form that use language that are used every day, and the ability to tailor it a little bit to your style, because the reality is a lawyer's words is their brand and they need to be able to tailor those things. But when I think of drafting, I think of it in being kind of two columns. There's the column where you have the forms that you use every day that you use over and over again. And you have the documents that do require deep thought and deep drafting. And what Clio Draft does is it allows you to highly automate those day-to-day documents, those transactional type documents, those family law clauses that you use every single day. But it also allows you to go and, particularly with the new AI teammates that we're releasing, it does allow you to go and draft those really detailed contracts, those detailed agreements, and also redline them and work back and forth between attorneys.
So saving people a lot of time.
Saves a lot of time. Yeah, I think when I used to do conveyancing, I would enter data once. My view was that I only ever wanted to enter data once and be able to click a button and have all the documents generate when it was time to generate
Another one.
and not have to do anything else. And that was where, this was in 2004, 2005, I had the practice operating at that level. So document automation is something that we've been able to harness for a long time.
Oh, we use IBM Select Cricket typewriters before your time.
Well, believe it or not, when I started working in law practice, you still had to use, for a probate matter, parchment paper.
Okay.
So we still had to use typewriters when I first started as
There you
well.
go.
Yeah.
And the lawyers that had the automatic stuff made more money than the other
That's
people
right.
that did
That's
not.
right. So that's the next part. Being more efficient
That's right.
makes more money.
Way more. I want to ask you a question that, when I looked at your background and you were doing things for, whether it's not criminal rights, but it's for people that might be wronged wrongfully convicted. What is the term that I should be even applying to that? It's wrongfully convicted area.
So wrongfully convicted is something that I've become a little bit more involved in with JJ Velasquez.
Right.
What I was actually involved in was reentry.
Oh, so okay, from the criminal system.
So I was involved.
How did you get involved in that?
Yeah, so it's all about preventing recidivism. And when I first arrived in the United States, I was introduced to the former governor of New Jersey, Governor McGreevey.
Okay.
And he was running, and he still runs a program called New Jersey Reentry Corporation. And I was asked if I could help, and I actually didn't know anything about it at the time. I said, sure, I'd love to help. So
how did it cross paths that even happened? I mean, most of us, when you come to the country, don't meet the governor.
Well, I started to get involved quite early on with the New Jersey State Bar Association.
Okay. And
my immigration lawyer actually said to me, I think you should meet Governor McGreevey. Right. So I was just lucky that I had an immigration lawyer. And then we kind of met through a mutual connection who was a high profile lawyer in New Jersey. His name's John Kufos, who had served time, had been disbarred for life. And his story's public record. He talks about it all the time. And he had actually gone and formed this corporation with Governor McGreevey. So it came about via my immigration lawyer who introduced me to Governor McGreevey and John Kufos. And I provided them software that helped reinstate driver's licenses for people that were coming out of prison and expunge tickets. Because one of the biggest hurdles people face when they're coming back into society after serving their time and paying their debt, and that's what they have done, is they paid their debt, is they've had lives continued without them, and parking tickets have accumulated, which means they can't get a driver's license. And if you can't get a driver's license, you can't get a job. If you can't get a job and you can't remain gainfully employed, you end up back in prison.
Right.
And that is the recidivism cycle, and it happens in communities. And I grew up, as I started learning this, and in 1 year, we were responsible for 400 driver's license reinstatements. So really understanding about some of the societal problems people face when the returning citizens come home. And I've always been of the opinion as if you are not going to give someone a second chance when they come home, then everyone may as well just get a life sentence.
Yeah.
So my passion became helping people re-enter society after serving their time and doing it successfully so they could actually build generational wealth.
That's interesting. And then there was a speaker yesterday, and I can't remember what JJ's last name was.
Velasquez.
Incredible story. Somebody wrongfully convicted, and he's in for 20 years. Has to serve he's pardoned. He still has to do another 9 or something. It was insane. You got to meet him through the program where he was coming out?
That was how I met him. Yeah. So he came to talk to us about the program, and our founder had been involved with the JJ for a little while as well. The founder of the foundation is a guy named Hector Guadalupe. The foundation is called the Second Year Foundation, and it specializes in the fitness industry. So when people leave prison, they go through not just a personal training boot camp, but a sales boot camp and a financial management boot camp. We get them bank accounts. We're able to eventually get them loans once they've been working in the program for long enough. And then they go out quite often and become their own entrepreneurs and run their own businesses. And that was where I met JJ.
It was a great story listening to that. Then you met the person from Dateline as well. It must have been at some point in time.
Yes. So I took part of the Voices from Within program that they were talking about yesterday, which is held in Sing Sing prison. And Sing Sing, for any listener who hasn't heard of Sing Sing, it's a notorious prison in New York State.
Right.
They had the electric chair there. It was a capital punishment prison. Old Sparky, they called it. And you go in and you get a tour of the prison. And it was striking walking through this facility that had effectively cages stacked 4 stories high that may have been 2 feet wide, one person to a cage. There were people that couldn't sit sideways in there because they were too broad to sit sideways in their cell. And it culminates with sitting with a group of 30 incarcerated people. And most of those people are doing anything from 20 years to the gentleman sitting next to me was doing life without parole.
Right.
I asked him what his sentence was, and his exact words to me was, I am serving until the end of my natural life. And JJ created this program. And what he did is originally he took a group of people and taught them that even though you're in prison, it doesn't mean that you have to behave like you're in prison. And was quite hard on them and teaching them, lessons about how to behave with other people. And then they kind of graduate into this program where they can apply to to study for a college degree. So everyone in that program is actually studying or obtain a college degree in prison. And we sit there and we hear their stories, and they don't shy away from what they did. They accept full accountability, full responsibility, and they know they can never erase that. And we in the room know they can never erase that. But we also see human beings who quite often as a 15 or 16-year-old child was born as a victim of circumstance into an environment where they were able to get a firearm at 15 or 16 and did something that altered the course of their lives and other people's lives who were involved. And they've been sitting there for 25 years thinking about this and thinking about how they can repay their debt to society when they get out. And some of them were coming up for release within months. And they were, you could feel that they'd been prepared to re-enter society and deliver on their desire to do good when they arrive home. Being in reentry, one of the things that really struck me was seeing the optimism and knowing what they were in for when they did leave. Because as JJ said yesterday, you might complete your sentence, but you get out and you're on probation, you're still a number. You have to go into your probationary officer and you have to report your number.
Right.
You have to live in a halfway house. You're not allowed to go and live with family. And it is a system that seems built to break people who have recovered.
As opposed to make them.
That's right. That's right.
What do you get out of working in that personally? What does that do for you?
I feel that in the United States in particular, I have been adopted by this country. I'm a citizen now. I've been here for 10 years. And I feel I can give back to the country by helping what are effectively underserved communities. The majority of people in these programs have come from underserved communities where there has been a race disparity. They've been unable to build generational wealth. And that's really the crux of the issue. When you look at a family of some of these people who are incarcerated, their father was incarcerated, their father before them was incarcerated, their children are incarcerated. And this all happens because there's no generational wealth. So what I get out of it is the ability to give back to a country that adopted me and I love, and able to make a real difference to try and help it on its path forward.
No, it's an amazing story.
Thank you.
When I read that you had done some of that, I kind of thought, well, this is a good place for you at Clio because you get to do good work. And I would guess there's people's values here are all about giving.
Exactly. And that was one of the questions Dan Slepian from Dateline asked me yesterday. He asked me about the culture at Clio. I said, well, the reason we have you here is because we have a really, really strong devotion to justice. We talk about, Jack spoke about the latent legal services market yesterday. Right. People that are caught up in reentry cycles actually form part of that latent legal services market. I quite often will go and sit at a municipal court and just observe because I like to go and see how we can potentially help other people, not just those that are in prison, but communities that are underserved. And I sat at a municipal court one day and I was sitting there and there was maybe 50 people and they just run through these people and they don't have attorneys. If they're lucky, they've got an overstretched public defender who gets them a slightly different result. One day I was sitting there, I saw two people who had actually been arrested for the same charges at the same place within an hour of each other. One had a privately funded attorney and the other one had a public defender. One was issued with $1,000 fine, 30 days in prison and a deportation order. The other one was issued a municipal ticket.
Yeah.
Same offenses. And the difference was one had a lawyer. And I think about Clio's dedication to transforming the legal experience for all. And I think about that municipal court. And I think about Jack's keynote yesterday. And I think about a lawyer. People in municipal court might be able to afford to pay $20, $50 for an attorney. And you think about these legal AI workmates that we're producing. I think that this is going to be a sea change in the latent legal services market. If I was a new lawyer starting out and I was looking for a client base and I had access to Clio work, I'd go and plant myself at a municipal court and I'd say to people, just send me your ticket. And you could have the AI actually say, okay, this is the ticket type. These are the other things they need to send you. You can train it to kind of understand the common tickets that they come across. And you could actually give them that defense. You could sit there all day and probably get through 50 people at $50 a person. You could represent them in front of the judge where needed. Most of it's just done with the prosecutor. So using this sort of technology, that latent legal services market suddenly becomes accessible.
Yeah, and Jack has had, he's had an undying belief in it since the first start.
Mm-hmm.
He always called it the latent legal market, that lawyers are saying there isn't enough work to do, when actually there is 80% of the people that don't get to a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so how do we provide some service to them?
That's right.
In a way that could work for them? We might be getting closer to that. Because he continues to build something, but he continues to have these core beliefs that he's never let go of.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday it was as strong as ever, where he called the latent legal market.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most fun thing? What's the last question I'd ask you? What's the most fun thing you discovered at Clio once you started here? And you go, wow, this is different, or this surprises me, or
The people.
the people.
I've worked at a number of organizations, and the level of intellect that I am so fortunate to work with every day. I always say, if I can come to a business and be the least intelligent person in it, then to me, that's a win. I get to learn every day. I get to learn from my peers. I get to learn from our leadership. I get to learn from our investors. I get to learn from our clients. And I just think that I come in every day and I get inspired by each person that I talk to in the organization. It doesn't matter what they do. There is passion for all of the core values, all of the clients, and most importantly, delivering the legal software that's going to change legal practice for the better.
That's great. It's great to talk with you.
Great to talk with you too, Kevin. Really great to meet you. Thank you for having me on the show.